Hello and welcome. If you're a taxpayer here in the UK, chances are you've had that feeling of frustration when dealing with HMRC. But what if we could actually measure that frustration? Well, today we're going to unpack the real cost of those incredibly long waits and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it. This whole discussion has been put together by the experts over at the accounting firm Pro Tax Accountant.
So, let's start with a question. I want you to just picture the last time you had to call HMRC. You've got your UTR number ready, maybe you've made a cup of tea, and you've braced yourself for a bit of a wait. But have you ever wondered just how long all of us are waiting when you add it all up? The answer? Well, it is absolutely staggering.
No, that is not a typo. 700 years. It's been calculated that UK taxpayers have collectively spent over 700 years on hold with HMRC. I mean, let that sink in for a second. 7 whole centuries of our time spent just waiting for an answer. This isn't just a minor inconvenience. It's a colossal black hole of lost time and productivity for the entire country.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll dig into what that 700 years on hold number really means for you. Then we'll ask why. Why are the waits so long? We'll look at the pressures HMRC is under. After that, it's all about you. We'll cover your official rights as a taxpayer. Then we'll get practical with a step-by-step playbook for making a complaint, talk about how you can claim back costs and get compensation, and finally, we'll look at when it might be time to call in the professionals.
Right, let's put that 700-year figure into some real-world context. Because, it's not just some abstract number, is it? It's the reality for millions of us. It's that freelancer in London trying to sort out a tax code in between client meetings. Or, the small business owner up in Manchester trying to fix a VAT issue while their own business phone is ringing off the hook.
And that right there, that's the heart of the problem. For anyone who's self-employed or running a small business, time is literally money. Every single hour you spend on hold is an hour you're not earning, not serving your customers, not growing your business. It's a direct hit to your bottom line, and it turns a simple phone call into a genuine business risk.
Okay, so we get the scale of the problem, but what's actually causing it? I mean, to be fair to HMRC, they are facing what you could call a perfect storm of massive demand and immense pressure. Let's actually look at the data from their own annual report to see what's going on behind the scenes.
So, a huge part of the pressure is just sheer volume. Think about this. In the 2023-24 tax year alone, because the income tax thresholds were frozen, an extra 2.1 million people were pulled into the tax system for the first time. More taxpayers means more questions, more calls, and a much, much heavier workload for a team that's already stretched pretty thin.
And on top of that, just look at this chart. The total amount of debt that HMRC is trying to collect is enormous. By March 2024, it was sitting at a whopping £63.1 billion. That green bar is the total, and the other colors show how it's broken down. Now, trying to manage and collect that level of debt takes a huge amount of resources and people, which, you guessed it, directly affects their ability to pick up the phone quickly. So the bottom line is, all these pressures are having a very real impact on service. This slide shows HMRC's own numbers on how they're handling post. Their target was to respond to 80% of mail within 15 working days, but the reality? They only hit 76.3%. Now, that might not sound like a huge difference, but it actually represents thousands upon thousands of people and businesses waiting longer than they should be for critical answers.
Now, it's really easy to feel a bit powerless in this whole situation, but listen, you're not. Let's pivot now from the problems to the solutions. The UK government has actually published a document that lays out exactly how HMRC is supposed to treat you. It's called the HMRC Charter, and honestly, it's your best friend when things start to go wrong.
Think of the charter as a set of promises made to you. It says you have the right to be treated with respect. You have the right to a helpful and efficient service. It promises your data will be protected. And crucially, it confirms your right to have an expert, like an accountant from Pro Tax Accountant, deal with your affairs on your behalf. If you feel any of these rights have been breached, you can, and you absolutely should, mention the charter directly in your complaint.
Okay, so this brings us to the really practical part of our discussion today, your complaint playbook. Because look, knowing your rights is one thing, but knowing the official process, well, that's what gets results. So stay with me. This next part is absolutely crucial for turning that frustration into a resolution.
The process has different levels, and it's really important to follow the steps in order. First up, step 1. You complain directly to the HMRC office you've been dealing with. You can do this online, over the phone, or by post. If you're not happy with their response, you move to step 2. You ask for a different complaints handler to review the whole thing. This is officially called a Tier 2 complaint. And if you're still not satisfied after that, you can take it to step 3 and escalate your case to the adjudicator, who is completely independent from HMRC.
Now, listen, throughout this entire process, there is one thing you absolutely must do, and that is keep records of everything. Every single phone call, every letter, every email. This quote from the official guidance is key. You're going to need evidence, like receipts or invoices, to claim back any costs. And pay attention to that last part. You can't be paid back for your own time unless you can prove you lost earnings because of the issue. So if you're a freelancer and you had to cancel a paid job to deal with HMRC, you better document it.
And that leads us perfectly to the big question. What can you actually get out of making a complaint? Well, it isn't just about getting an apology. It can also be about getting reimbursed for the actual costs you've had to pay out. This is where all that detailed record keeping you've been doing really starts to pay off.
So, what can you actually claim for? Well, you can ask for refunds on what they call reasonable costs. Things like postage for sending documents, the cost of your phone calls, and even the professional fees you paid to your accountant to help sort out the mess. But that's not all. You can also ask for something called a consolatory payment for the worry, the distress, or any unreasonable delays caused by HMRC's mistakes.
All right, and here is a fantastic pro tip for you straight from the experts. It's something called Extra Statutory Concession A19, or ESC A19 for short. Now, this is a really powerful but not very well-known rule. To put it simply, if HMRC had information that showed you owed tax, but they failed to act on it in a reasonable time, say for over a year, and you had good reason to believe your taxes were all sorted, they might have to write off some or maybe even all of that tax debt. It can be a real game changer in certain situations.
Whew, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, haven't we? From the sheer scale of the problem to the exact steps you can take to fix it. But let's be honest, sometimes trying to navigate this system all by yourself can feel, well, pretty overwhelming, especially when you're also trying to run a business or just manage your own life. At the end of the day, being armed with knowledge about the HMRC charter, the complaints process, and your right to compensation, that gives you power. That's the first step. But the second, and often the smartest step, is knowing when it's time to bring in a professional, someone who fights these kinds of battles day in, day out. Now, just before we wrap up, it's really important to remember that all the information we've shared here today is for general guidance. It's a great starting point, but it is not a substitute for professional advice that's tailored to your unique situation. So, because of that, before you make any big financial decisions or take any action, you really must consult with qualified tax experts. For specialist advice on handling HMRC complaints, understanding those tricky tax rules, and really just managing all your tax needs, the team at Pro Tax Accountant is there to help. They are the go-to experts for navigating these kinds of challenges. You can reach out to them directly. The best way is on WhatsApp or by phone at 07985 689912, or you can drop them an email at info@protaxaccountant.co.uk. Thanks so much for your time today. I really hope this has been valuable for you.